Hey, everybody. Welcome to our August webinar, Give Your Website Momentum, the Power of Data-Driven Decisions. My name is Lee Mooring with Speak Creative, and I'm going to be your host for the day. I see people still kind of trickling in here, so I'm going to get us started here in a minute or two. But while we're waiting for everybody to come on in, I would love for you to open that chat window and share where you're joining us from. You can tell us your city and state and your organization because we love seeing where people are coming at us from. We've got three different time zones represented on our panel today. So love seeing that. All right, love it. Ooh, we got some international. Love to see that. Awesome, awesome. Well, while y'all are still sharing your location and organization, I'll go ahead and start us off with some introductions and just some things to note. But yeah, this is our topic for the day. Super excited to have our panel share with you guys. Before we get started, if you haven't used Zoom before, I'm sure you have, but if for some reason it freezes, you can always hop out of Zoom and hop back in. It's not going to lock you out or anything. Volume is through the computer, so just make sure you adjust that. And we are going to be taking live questions throughout the webinar, so feel free to put those in the chat and try to be as specific as you can with your question because I'm going to be posing all of those at the end of the webinar. So you can be really specific, say who your question's for, so that I can get those answered for everybody at the end. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panel to get us kicked off. So first we have Megan Brock. She grew up in Texas, but has lived in Tennessee for the past 15 years. She graduated from the University of North Texas and has had many different experiences throughout her career journey. She's had the privilege of working at Bryce Corporation for the past 4 years as their marketing manager. When she's not at work, she enjoys getting to do house projects with her husband, being outside, staying active, gardening, and serving at church and being with friends and family. And then we have Claire. She's the director of marketing at Discovery Park of America in Union City, Tennessee. She's a native of Obion. I probably butchered that. I'm sorry, County. She was glad to relocate back to her hometown in 2021 after living in Huntsville, Alabama, working in marketing for several years. She's married to Grant, and together they have a 1-year-old baby boy named Hardy. In her free time, Claire enjoys spending time with her friends and family, taking long strolls with their dog Leo. And she graduated from the University of Tennessee at Martin in 2016 with a Bachelor of Science in Marketing. And then we have Adam, who is on our Speak staff. He's our SEO and UX strategist, and he is entrusted with facilitating success for many of our destination and attraction clients. He has the ability to quickly and effectively find solutions by synthesizing market trends, client direction, and data into action-oriented audience engagement. He graduated from the University of Tennessee in 2016. Oh my gosh, wait, did y'all know that you were classmates? That's fun. And has been in the marketing industry since, leading brand strategy and SEO efforts for hundreds of businesses nationally and internationally. He's originally from Memphis and currently lives in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And then you have me. My name is Lee Mooring. I am the Director of Agency Marketing here at Speak, where I've been for about a year and a half. Prior to this, I served at Blackbaud in marketing and consulting, which was a large producer of CRMs for arts and cultural customers. And before that, I worked in the museum field for about 8 years. I got my Bachelor of Arts in History from Clemson and my Master of Arts in History from the College of Charleston and Citadel. And I live in Charleston, South Carolina now with my fiance and soon to be stepdaughter. All right. Well, thanks everybody for being here, and I'm excited to get us kicked off. So here's our agenda for the day. Obviously, we're getting started here with our introductions. We're going to move into Adam sharing some best practice tips for pulling some data that you already have. Then we'll hear from Discovery Park and Bryce and get into some questions. And just another reminder, please submit those questions through the chat and we'll try to get to as many as we can. All right, and if you're not familiar with Speak, if this is one of your first webinars you're joining us for, we just wanted to highlight that we work with partners of all kinds. So here are some of the different organizations we work with. We work with a lot of arts and cultural clients. We work with nonprofits, a lot of K-12 independent schools, small businesses, larger corporations and foundations. So we really work with a lot of people, and we're very proud to partner with them in all of their marketing efforts. And web design is obviously our bread and butter here. We worked hard with both of these clients on theirs, and we love really helping you get your web design goals in line, backed by marketing strategy and beautiful design. We have a fully in-house team of developers, designers, and then strategists like Adam that help you get your website to where you want it to be, moving people and creating more conversions. And we are a full service agency partner, so we will come in and be a part of your marketing team. We do everything from video and photo production to branding, design work, development, digital marketing, websites, mobile apps, campaigns. We can do it all. All right, and without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Adam, and he is going to give us some data-driven tips on how to utilize the analytics you already have on your website and make your website optimized for more conversions. So Adam, I'll let you go ahead and take over and share your screen.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Lee. All right, let's get this up. Perfect. All right. So I just wanted to say thanks again to everyone for joining us today and just taking some time out to talk about a subject that is incredibly valuable to me because it honestly just helps drive my decision-making day to day. So, it's truly invaluable to just allowing me to be the best resource that I can be, whether that's for internal reasons here at Speak or, just assisting our clients to help them achieve their goals or, get them where they need to go. I had a professor, marketing professor in college that constantly, stressed the mentality of never doing things randomly. And, he couldn't be more right. As marketers, there's really no reason why we should be, blindly throwing darts on a dartboard to try to hit our bullseye. When we have so many different metrics that we can analyze and ultimately tools that help us do those things. So for the couple of slides that I'm going to cover, I'm basically going to dive into why it's important that we keep a data-driven mindset, what that ultimately helps us achieve, what those key metrics are that we can take a look at for those specific reasons, and then the tools that help us kind of keep track of those metrics and unpack those metrics. And then at the end, I would love to share with you guys 2 examples of these tools in action. So let's get started. All right, so first up, key reasons for analyzing data. I've got 6 here. Obviously, this comes from the lens of being a marketer and ultimately managing your website as well. The first 3 are more broad. I think these are ones that are common categories that day in and day out, we're trying to help people do. So whether that's defining goals, achieving certain goals, data can help us do all those things. It doesn't really matter how big or small those goals are. There's different data sets that we can use to help us get from point A to point B. Identifying problems, I really view this and obviously risk reduction not as something that's just reactionary, but something that we can be proactive with. So like, for example, risk reduction when it comes to uh, redesigning or making updates to a website, for example, one kind of core process is content planning. And I'm a big fan of reducing the clutter, right? But if are in a data-driven mindset and you use a tool like, let's say, Google Analytics, for example, you can take a look and see, just how many people are coming to particular pages. You might think, hey, there are pages on our website that are old. They have to be, not really that valuable anymore. They're probably just causing us a lot of clutter and bogging down the website. Well, if you use these different tools, you can truly define that as opposed to just guessing that. And so you can save yourself a lot of, potential damage if, let's say, you thought certain pages were not important, but they truly were because they rank really well and they drive a lot of traffic to your site. You don't want to get rid of those. So that's just like one kind of example of reducing the risk. And then they're the three bottom ones. These are a little bit more specific, but you can use all these different tools to help you define your target audience. And that is more than just, is it men or women that are using our website, what age groups, but you can study their behaviors. You can look at their preferences through heat mapping and things like that. And that ultimately helps you plan, any sort of updates that you're doing when it comes to your website. So, if you used a heat map, for example, and you notice that there's a section on a website that is getting a lot of clicks, but it's on a non-clickable item, obviously that's, probably frustrating for those people thinking that they're going to be taken somewhere or given something. So we want to see if that's something that we can turn into being clickable. Like, let's say maybe a phone number that's not linked, or an image or something like that. Clearly it's causing a lot of interest, but it's falling flat on the experience. And then improve SEO and PPC performances. You can, throw social media in here as well. But this really just, gives you a competitive advantage. You can study not only what keywords are you ranking really well for or driving a lot of clicks to your ads, but you can study, at least on the organic side, you can study your competitors and see what they're ranking for that maybe you're not ranking for. So those are kind of the primary reasons that you want to be in that kind of mindset, because again, you don't want to just blindly be throwing darts on a dartboard. Next up, we've got key metrics. I broke these down into four kind of main categories. These are ones that, I'm pretty much in every single day. First up, we've got technical metrics. So through site auditing or technical auditing, you can, keep track of potential issues that could be ultimately, souring your performance, whether it's on the organic front or a user perspective front. So there's a lot of things that can be uncovered there, broken pages, broken links, things like that, you can easily course correct if you just use the data to figure that out. Page data, this primarily comes from tools like Google Analytics or Google Search Console. But this helps you understand where people are coming to you from, what pages they're going to. Are they new users? That's could be important to a lot of people. Like if you have some new venture that you're testing out, are we driving new traffic, or is it just repeat people, customers that are familiar with us? And so on and so forth. Engagements, a lot of people are ultimately, focused on their conversion rates. If it's filling out a form, getting those phone calls, you can track all of that and see, ultimately, are you getting to your goals that you're setting? User behaviors, we talked about this a little bit through heat mapping, but you have the insight through a tool like Microsoft Clarity, for example. Let's say you've got a page. It's pretty long, but there's ultimately something that you put on the bottom of that page that you're trying to collect a conversion from. Maybe it's a form, but you're figuring out that only maybe 10% of people are even seeing that form. Well, now through the use of data that, hey, we got to trim up this page and see if there's anything that we can reduce to bring that form up, or maybe even put a button that still signifies like, hey, we have a next action that you can take. So again, it just helps you plan a little bit better versus just saying, hey, we've got some content, we're going to put a page up and let's see what happens. And then ultimately, SEO, PPC metrics, social media, all that good stuff. Again, that competitive advantage. You can study yourself. You can see how you're performing in these different spaces. but you can also take a look at your competitors and ultimately not copy them, but you can see what you need to be in the mix of to stay competitive. And then where do we find these metrics? So, I mean, I could probably fill out dozens of slides with different tools. These are, this is just a small taste of what's out there. But the great thing, and again, this just goes back to we have no excuses for not using data. We have several really good free tools that we can use. So you see those there. I put Google Tag Manager in there. You're probably wondering, well, that doesn't, really collect data. Why would that be in there? It doesn't collect data, but you can set up custom events, whether that's, if you're, an attraction and you've got a ticketing system, all of that tracking setup is done through this system. So it's still really valuable to help you, collect more data. But then, there's other little things that you might not even think of, Chrome extensions that can give you, extended kind of SEO detail. I use those very frequently to figure out, what are our page titles looking like? How are, the crawlers processing our website? Can they actually see them and crawl the website? Google Forms, if you're trying to do surveying, that's a great free tool to set up, SurveyMonkey, those kinds of things are really good. I put two here for a bonus. And if we have enough time, I'd love to show you how these specific ones can be used, but you may not think to use just Google search and competitor websites. Those don't really spit out data at the forefront, but you can find, do different tactics to find good data for you to lead different strategies. And then these paid tools, these are, most of the ones that we use on a day-to-day basis. Again, it just gives you that competitive advantage, more detailed insights, and then things like, Screaming Frog, that's a technical audit checker, really valuable. One thing I'll say on these tools is rarely do I ever just use one and just run with that data. I love to cross-check things if I can, because these are tools. Sometimes they're great. Sometimes they maybe pushed an update or something, and things are looking a little squirrely at the time. So I always want to make sure that there's no big discrepancies, and I think it's wise to try to use as many of the different offerings that you have to make a more informed decision. So yeah, now let's take a look at some of these tools in action. So let me go ahead and stop my, get out of this. And then first up, I really tried to think outside the box here of things that maybe people don't know to use or even understand that they have available to them. So this is Google Analytics. I'm sure most of the people, here, they spend their time in the reports section. This is where you can see all your kind of common data. Like again, where traffic is coming from, what pages are getting hits, things like that. But I get a lot of questions about people wanting to see, okay, we see the people coming to our site, but where are they going from the time that they land to the time they finish? What's great with this new update to Google that happened like within the last year is now that there's this explore section. And so you go in here, there's a lot of different templates that you can use. I went ahead for the sake of time, just created a report already, but it's this path exploration. And so I'll click in here, and this is exactly where I can find data like I just mentioned. So real quick lay of the land here. You've got a variables section, you have settings, and then you have where your data actually spits out. Usually if you start kind of from blank, it's not going to look exactly like this. You'll probably get an event name followed by another event. So if you have something like that, just make sure that the first event is set to session start. You can click on this and ultimately you'll be able to select whatever events you have set up in your analytics. These are kind of the out of the box solution ones. So I want session start, and then you can see it already updated to event. I'm not interested in knowing what another event after the starting point is. I just want to know what pages people are starting and where they're going. So right off the bat, I can see, this little, this is our home page, and ultimately see the most commonly visited pages. If I click on this, it'll take me to where people are funneling after the fact. So this is really valuable to me because I know just based off of other data sets that users generally visit 2 to 3 pages in a session. So if we have some really important page that we want people to see and they're not, hitting it within these first couple steps, obviously that's a problem. There could be a whole, number of reasons why that is. Maybe it's brand new, it's not ranking very well, things of that nature. But this just gives us a better insight. Like if ultimately we're trying to get people to convert from the homepage, well, good news is the next step, kind of just one behind another user, that's where they're going. But we also see that case studies are really popular for us.
Hey,
So,
Adam,
we
I'm
want,
going to interrupt real quick. Are you able
sure.
to zoom in on this a little bit?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that'd be great. It's a little bit difficult to see.
Sorry. Yeah. Is that better?
Oh, so much better.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. Sorry about that, guys.
No, you're good.
So anyway, so you can see how this funnels, and essentially it'll just go in steps, and you can click on these and you can, do this for as far as it goes until there aren't any other users. But what's also great about this right now, I just have this set up to any active user that comes to our website. But I can set different segments and breakdowns, and these are just different filtered views. You're going to have to create your own segments and the dimensions, but what's great is that there's a whole slew of options that you can pick here. So just kind of test whatever you think you're interested in and see if it works. I tried to put in some demographic information in here, but it just wouldn't play nicely with the system. So city was the best thing that I was able to come up with here. But I've got some other ones, like let's say I just want active users specifically from mobile devices. I can just drop this over into segments, and now it'll filter out this traffic based on mobile users only. So, use this however you see fit. But this is just really great new feature that Google Analytics has that wasn't there before. And then the next thing I want to show you is good old Google search, right? Like, let's say you're not trying to study more about your website, but you want to see kind of the landscape. And for this example, I just went ahead and typed in home renovation. Obviously, I'm in Colorado Springs, so this is very tailored to where I am. And so, what can you learn just from this, right? You see who's advertising. So if you're not really sure who your competitors are, maybe you have an idea of like one or two, you'll be able to find more of these, right?
Adam, sorry, can you
Yes.
zoom again?
Oh, yes. There you go. All right. So we've got home renovation typed in, and you've already see kind of the different offerings that Google presents to a user for, whatever query you type in. So let's say I have a business that's in home renovation, and I'm just trying to study who's on this first page. So I see this first section. Sometimes there will be ads here, sometimes there won't. But this already off the bat, if I'm not advertising, I see who is, and maybe if I have some budget, I need to consider that if I'm not getting kind of the sales that I'm looking for, the revenue that I'm trying to generate. Maybe this is something that I need to consider. Another really nifty thing is I typed in home renovation, but let's say from a content perspective, I'm trying to figure out what kind of keywords am I supposed to be targeting? What kind of topics? You can get all that just from this search. It'll highlight, obviously, what you put in, but there are different times where it'll highlight things that are very similar. So I know now that maybe I should start incorporating restoration into my content plan. And there's a couple other examples here as well. Home remodeling is one that was popping up a lot. Google Business. This is another one that's really popular. If you're a local kind of based business, this is going to be really crucial to you to be found on the maps. There's a couple of things you can find right away. Take a look at kind of the average of how many reviews people are getting. If you have no Google reviews and you see all these people showing up and they've got 400, 200, well, then, it's probably important to incorporate that into your strategy. Another one is what kind of category are people putting themselves at? If you're constantly seeing very similar ones, remodeler, and you're something completely different, then you probably want to change that and be more a part of the mix. And the list goes on and on. Topic generation, these are different things that people are asking about home renovation. So now you've just generated yourself a couple different content topics for your website. And then the last thing I'll show you is looking at a specific competitor. So hopefully the owner of this is not here. I can't imagine that they would be. It would be pretty crazy if they were. But anyway, so we're just going to pick on this guy for a second. So let's say we get to their website. Now through the use of an extension, I've got, this is a detailed SEO extension. I can see clearly their page titles, their descriptions, what kind of words they're using. Again, am I using those? Am I not? You see that they're obviously ranking on the first page, so you can fine tune your titles and descriptions that way. Another one that I really like about this is that it tells you the word count. People ask me a lot, how many words do I need to be saying? All these kinds of things. That's not the point. Like, you ultimately should be putting content that is resourceful to whoever your audience is. But still, you can be resourceful and still hit a similar quota in terms of words, because if a lot of your competitors you're going through, they're all averaging like about 1,000 words plus on their homepage, and you only have 200, but you're not performing, maybe you need to up that word volume. Figure out if there's anything else that you can mention that maybe they're mentioning that you're not. And then the last one is a little cheat here. Let's say, so I typed in home renovation and ultimately this guy popped up. So if I hit Control F or Command F on Mac, I want to see specifically on this page how many times the word remodel was used. And what's great is that it highlights this. And not only just does it highlight remodel, but you can see, different phrasings and different kind of pairings, remodeling contractor, remodeling project. Those are all different ways that you can see how basically a competitor is structuring their content and how many times they're saying things and mentioning things. So a lot of different examples that can be shared. Hopefully you guys found some benefit from this, but all this to say that you don't even need the fanciest, most expensive tools to, get the ball rolling on, something like just figuring out what kind of plan you need to put into place to be competitive. So there's no excuses. Never do things randomly. And if you guys want to talk more about different, tools and how to use them, happy to do that. But for now, I'll go ahead and toss it over to our next partner, Claire.
Hello, thank you, Adam. That was very helpful. So I just wanted to give just kind of a quick recap before I roll into some of my remarks about Discovery Park, because it does make a difference in what we're a very unique facility because we're in such a unique area. We're in a very rural area. So Discovery Park is a 100,000 square foot museum. We are built up of things like galleries such as science, in topics such as science, space, technology, military, natural history, regional history, art, and transportation. And then we have a 50-acre heritage park, which has a lot of beautiful landscaping, a lot of different exhibits, things like that. And we are, a very immaculate museum. As I said, it's a beautiful place, but we are in a 10,000 population town, very rural area with no major interstate to date just yet that comes through. So anyways, I say all that to say we have some very unique challenges, which is why we chose to partner with Speak, because they have helped us. I think we've been partners for nearly 7 years now. So they have helped us with some very unique challenges. So we did a full website relaunch in probably 6 years ago. And about a year and a half ago, we started seeing some changes that needed to happen and some different updates that we needed, but we did not have the budget, nor did it necessarily need a full takeover. So that's where the Momentum plan came in and was the perfect fit for us. Because like I said, a budget constraint, it made the most sense. So we've done several different small projects in that Momentum plan. We started in January of 2023, and we've done several small things. This is just an example of what we did on our homepage. We did a revamp of our calendar page to make it a little bit easier, because we kept constantly getting complaints of people not being able to find our calendar page, and it wasn't very intuitive the way it was laid out. So this was just a small, subtle change that they did in one of the Momentum plans, in the quarterly Momentum plan. And then we did, one of the biggest things that we did was a full takeover of our membership page. And we've seen significant growth in our online membership purchases. If you don't mind going to the next slide, Lee. So we, with the partnership through Speak, Bertie and Sarah took great care of us. We were able to look at some other museums and some other clients that Speak has, and we saw kind of how their membership pages were laid out. And we just found that how it was before, we had way too much information on it. So you had to do a lot of research, and specifically moms, our target audience, they were having to go in and do a lot of planning and a lot of research to even make the final purchase to figure out which membership package best fit their needs. So we revamped that page, made it a lot easier, made it more colorful, and used graphics instead of a lot of heavy copy, which is the way it was before. And we've seen a significant growth in our membership online purchases. So it's been a blessing. I think the next slide has. And you can see, because we have so many different membership options, you can see why this specific plan made sense to us, because before there was just so many different ways that so much more reading that you had to do. So this is clearly laid out and easy to pick the plan that best fits for you, and then you can click on each button to make your final purchase. So the membership revamp, like I said, we've done several page takeovers and page updates and to modernize the website, and we've done so many different things, but this is just one of the most successful things that we've done. And that's basically all I have as far as our recap of the momentum plan.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Claire. And I know we'll have some questions for you at the end, but thanks for sharing a little bit about that. And I will turn it over to Megan to walk us through and introduce us to Bryce Corporation.
Thank y'all. I appreciate it. Yes, so I've been a part of Bryce's marketing department for about 4 years now. And when I started, we were bare minimum. And so we used Speak, I guess Bryce as our host for our website for umpteen years. And so when I came in, it was at COVID, and it was this high volume of, they didn't do a lot of communication or interaction with their customers through website. It was mainly a lot of in-person meetings and whatnot. And so just technology wise, it was way far behind. So we had a lot to catch up on. And so when I started, that was my first big project for us was we need to get an up and running website that is a way to obviously portray and the information that we need to have on hand for that to be a constant source for our sales team to be able to use and for employees as well. So how are we going to attract the type of careers that and the people that we want to help us in the struggling part of that. And so we did a full relaunch, and then it was one of those like, let's just get it good enough. And then we can start. And so for Bryce, we are a B2B corporation. So that I think has a little bit of a different, unique lane, I would say, in marketing compared to B2C. And so these are just a few things that we've done over the past 2 years. I'm so very grateful for Birchie and Sarah, because they truly have become an extension of my department. And so they are my go-tos with all things website. And so the momentum has been incredibly valuable for me, as I am a one-man team in marketing. So I see them as just part of my team, and any questions that I have, and I'll just keep, kind of an ongoing list of things that, oh, maybe I can improve on this or whatnot. And so one of the things that we did not have on our website was like, why do people want to work with us? And so we've had, about us, we have the history of us, but it was really nice to then like be able to add in some more pages of, man, we offer a lot more things. And so that was one project that we worked on that I have found a lot of value in, and for people to just get a better view of who we are. So just adding in those sub pages as you go, you realize like, oh, this information would be helpful or whatnot. So that has been valuable for us. And adjusting the pages. This is one that, over time you just realize like, oh, this doesn't function the way that we wanted it to, or it, our news was very simple. Again, the beginning, we just made it, let's just get it to a point that is usable and good. And now I'm able to kind of like, hey, let's make it visually attractive. And kind of like what Claire was saying, like you just learn what your people are, how they're operating in your website, what they're doing. And you're like, okay, let's change this up a little bit to make it more user friendly, a little more visually appealing. And so that's been really fun. Projects with the team as well, of them being, me being able to share what I want and then them actually being able to come back and create it has been really helpful for us. And then creating totally new sections. So these are things of as our content has grown over time and what I use maybe for our social media and whatnot. So we are a flexible packaging company. And so, yes, we can say you can see us in the grocery store, and we do chip bags, candy wrappers, and probably everyone has packaging that has been created in Memphis, Tennessee. But we also want to offer the variety of market. And so how do I do that? How do I help us show like we don't just do snacks, but we can do bath salts and and be in different markets and landscaping. So this has been a fun thing to like use up, like, hey, my social media stuff, like I don't want to just use that one time. How can I use that within the website but it not be so much, it doesn't have to be a permanent piece. And so this gallery has been kind of a fun new section that I have that I can use content from other places and whatnot. And it just brings in some more color and more fun and all of the resources there. So we've created this whole new resource section through Momentum. So they've created a calculator for us, the gallery for us. We've added a glossary. And so that's been really neat too. Again, you just learn as you go. And so it's not having to revamp everything, but we can just add in and make it better as time goes on. So I've been very grateful for the momentum and just what small things really do add up, and over time it becomes a resource that you want your employees to use. And right now we're working on our careers page because that's our big push of how do we make that more accessible, how do we make that information more attractive to people. And so that's currently getting worked on right now with Birchie and Sarah. So thank y'all so much for having me and getting to share about us.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Megan and Claire, for hopping on and sharing. We do have some questions to kick us off, and everybody in the chat, feel free to put some in there too, even if it's something super specific that you'd love Adam to show again. He'd be happy to do that. So just plop them in there and we will get those answered. All right, so I'm going to start with a question for Megan and Claire. How does your work with Speak help you find new audiences and convert business? Which one of y'all would like to hop in first?
Megan, I'll let you go first if you want to.
Sure. Yeah, I think this is also one of ours since really diving in the past couple years that we've been working on, of like what new, like Adam, you were saying, like what new keywords do we need to be adding into our SEO, what and whatnot. One thing I will say we have added in is just more forms. So at first we had one contact form, and now we have those more strategically placed throughout. And so we've had more traffic through our website currently now just by adding in, you know, simple ways for people to get in contact with us. So we have, and again, we are a niche, and so it's not going to necessarily be new massive brackets of people, but for us to just be known by either the mom and pops of the businesses that, you know, we may be able to serve them well, or we might have to send them somebody else. It's just the fact that people are finding us and having contact with us, when it used to just be like our sales team, you know, it had to go through people, but now we have a 24/7 resource that's at least helping us communicate.
And for us, you know, our main goal is Turnstile. We want to bring people in. Our main goal is to sell tickets and bring people in the door. But obviously, we know that just buying in-person tickets is not going to cut it for us. So Speak really helped us improve it greatly our online ticket purchasing. We have so many different ticket purchases, just like ticket purchase options, just like we have so many different membership options. So they really helped us solidify those options, make it easier for a guest, and really convert those into people who are actually seeing our ad or seeing it on social media, or reaching them somehow and actually going through and completing the purchase. They helped us launch Save 15% and purchase online several years ago, which is still working. That's something that we still use. So it's been a huge help to make online purchases grow, because they've grown a lot. Although in-person ticket purchases are still our number one form of purchase, online has been growing every month for several years now.
Awesome. Great. And I know y'all already answered this a little bit in your presentations, which was great, but would love to know what you guys feel like was the biggest benefit of your ongoing website assistance with Momentum.
Oh, for us, well, there's so many benefits, but for us, we not only were we able to make it more customer friendly, more user friendly, but the biggest thing is we didn't have to do a whole lot of work to make that happen. So there's a team with Speak that you have, and a partnership that you have, that you guys are doing the research and you're doing all of the back end work that helps us make decisions quickly and get updates done quickly. So that's the biggest benefit for us.
Yeah, definitely. I would say the same. I think the biggest is just that it's ongoing. So that I know in 6 months I'm going to have my meeting. And so just during that time, and that seems like a long time, but it goes by so fast.
Agreed.
And yeah, and it helps give you time to figure out what's working, what's not, what do we need to add in, and go from there. But I would agree on that I can definitely toss the ball, and the team does a great job with what I
and we can just I love that we can take notes. You know, I don't have to remember something right then. Like we can take notes throughout that quarter or whenever our next Momentum phase is coming. So I don't have to do everything all at once. So.
Awesome. Great. Well, I will take some questions that I've seen come in. The first one is going to be for Adam. They're wondering if there is one kind of key report that you would say is the number one that people should be looking at on a weekly basis to make any edits to their website.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, in this particular case, if it's making edits to their website, I think heat mapping is really good, and ultimately monitoring your traffic through Google Analytics, just seeing, you know, are those pages even getting any people? And then through the use of heat mapping, you can see, you know, how are people actually interacting with it. Just goes back to, again, like one simple edit you can make is if you have tons of content on your site, and ultimately you see that, you know, the majority of your users are only scrolling through maybe the top, you know, 25% of the page. But even in this case, it's not chop off the content. It might be, hey, let's figure out if there's like a page part or some kind of content element that we can use that can still keep that content there. But ultimately trim it up and only, you know, expose it when a user clicks on it if they, you know, are interested in that particular information. So it doesn't mean you have to just completely scrap everything and keep everything short. That's one example, I think, you know, where you have to use your judgment and not just go off of the data. Because if that were the case, then, you know, every homepage would be maybe 2 sections top, and, you know, and that's it. Obviously, you know, everyone wants to present themselves, create that really good, lasting, you know, first impression on that homepage, because generally for people, that's the most visited page. So in that case, I would go against the data, but maybe still use it in the case of if there's something just absolutely important, maybe I wouldn't bury it at the bottom. I would bring it up to the top. So on a week-to-week basis, I would definitely just monitor your traffic, see where people are going. And then if you have heat mapping set up, you can, you know, basically look week to week how people are using the website and the pages.
Great. I actually got in a question to sort of piggyback off of your answer there.
Mhm.
Are there any reports that are done every 6 months to kind of prep for a move? So whether it's somebody who has, you know, momentum with us or someone who doesn't and is exploring that, are there reports that people should do every 6 months to make some adjustments to their website?
Yeah. Again, you know, the online environment that we work in is just a ever-changing space. So, you know, you might have everything nicely set up. You know, today on your website, you've got pages that are driving a lot of traffic, it's loading quickly, all that kind of stuff. But maybe over time, you've been adding new content, you've had multiple people kind of working on the website, and maybe some images there, you know, got added that weren't optimized. They're really bogging down the site. Someone decided to upload a video, not through a platform like Vimeo, but directly onto the site. And they just don't understand kind of the damage that that can cause. So I think technical auditing is really important to do, not just in a 6-month basis, probably a little bit more frequently than that month basis. But it's still going to be valuable in that 6-month view. And then, you know, ultimately you can figure out like, hey, are there things that we need to clean up technically so that we're not, you know, performing poorly? You can take a look at those other metrics too. Like if all of a sudden you start to see trend lines drop in your traffic and your keyword performance, you know, why is that? Is that, again, going back to the ever-changing space where new competitors brought up? Did they put, you know, new pages on the site that ultimately jumped you? And so those are all reasons to, you know, stay active and, you know, constantly just monitor the landscape. Some people might have the luxury in their industry. There's not a lot of change happening. There's, you know, they're competing with smaller websites and they pretty much are, you know, outdated and they stay the same. And, you know, you don't have to worry about that. But a lot of times we find ourselves in situations where someone's trying to outperform someone else. And so that constantly keeps us active. And, you know, we don't want someone else's website experience, you know, to be better than ours. So we, again, go back to that last demo that I showed where you can kind of monitor someone else's website, and, you know, more than just what I showed, you can put their website. If you have a paid tool, you can audit their website and see if everything's good standing. You can check their page speed. I mean, there's just so much you can see under the hood to kind of compare it and contrast it with your own site.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Adam. I have a question for Claire and Megan, specifically around how kind of these biannual website audits and improvement can help them plan for budgeting, because I know that can be a big thing for sure. And then especially reporting to supervisors and upper management and so on. So do either of y'all have any suggestions or comments on how these website audits can help you plan for budgeting for the next fiscal year?
I for us, the budgeting was probably a little bit more simple than it should be. We just knew that it was time, it was needed. We had built in an amount, so we were pretty well prepared for the website, and the health of the website and the updates and all of that came first. So I'm not sure that I'm the best person to answer that question as far as budgeting.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we were also obviously in the desperate part at the beginning as well. But when we left it at, it took me about a year to get leadership on board with it. I think it's more of a like, what's the point, but when you are able to explain or just show like, okay, we just spent this massive amount of money to redo the whole site. Like instead of having to do that every 3 years, because at 2 to 3, I mean, I can't imagine at what we had at the beginning and fast forward 3 years now, I'm like, that would all be outdated. And so then we would have to go through that whole process again. So it's just like changing the oil on in your car. You got to just have that maintenance consistently. So I would just I think like Claire, you just got to like think it's broken down enough for us that I can just include it in my yearly budget. And so it's
a good way to put it.
Yeah. So it's broken down. Did that answer? Did that help?
Yes, definitely. I think that's definitely what what the person was trying to get to. I know budgeting can be a big concern, and especially for marketing folks, sometimes it can feel like you're getting pulled in a million directions. So it's helpful to have as much data as you can when you're making decisions for your budget as well.
I will say, I think maybe the reason it was so easy for us is because it seemed to be so affordable. So maybe that's a better way to summarize for what I said. It was affordable for us. So there wasn't a lot of hoop jumping because it was not astronomical.
Yeah, that's a great mention because, a lot of people, they think, well, it's either a complete rehaul or, we're just kind of stuck with what we have. I think that's probably one of the big things that our clients really get a lot of joy out of a Momentum partnership is the flexibility that it offers. And obviously, most people probably don't have, 50, 60 grand every single year to try to rehaul their website. That's just not realistic. So that's where Momentum really comes into play, with the use of that data that you can say like, hey, this particular website is getting a lot of hits, or not website, but web page is getting a lot of hits. We're hoping that it would be higher converting, but something is just not sticking here. And it could just simply come down to how is that information on the page being presented? Is it just too stale? Is it not being able to be found? So that's where, we can start to get really creative with our designers and developers to try to figure out a way to enhance that experience.
Yeah, I think the other thing too that I've had to embrace as a marketing manager too is the realization I can't do it all. Even though I'm a one-person team, we obviously have our strengths and weaknesses. And so being able to also explain to leadership of like, it's not just like, oh, just go create something or go change something. It's not this easy magic wand. I wish I had all the skills and all the talents, but I just don't. And so you have to be able to delegate, and you have to find those people to be on your team to make us better. And so how do we do that? And you get a 4-man or 6-man, like I'm not even sure beyond Birchie and Sarah, who I interact with most, like how many people are working to create this, where it's not just, well, let's hire somebody. We're getting 6 people additional on our team to be able to pour in their skills and knowledge and creativity. And I'll, definitely take that with it. So, and I agree with Claire on that. It just makes it economically make sense for me.
Awesome. Well, thanks guys. Those are great Great answers. Definitely appreciate all that. I've got one more question and then we'll kind of wrap us up. And I'm thinking this one's for Adam, but Claire or Megan, you might have an answer too. This person is having some trouble having their website pop up on Google because there are a lot of sponsored sites that come up above theirs. And they think it's their website when they're buying tickets. So they are wondering what are some steps you can do to make sure that your website is coming up first in Google above any other sponsored?
So yeah, great question. Unfortunately, with the way that Google is set up, you know, I'm not a huge fan of it because it honestly is pay to play. But so, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of that. I don't think that's exactly fair, but fortunately, that's how it is. And those sponsored links are always going to show up at the top because people are paying for those positions. In the event that, you know, someone is maybe they're typing in your brand name and they think that a competitor's link that happens to be first is you. That's again, it's one of those kind of gray area strategies that people use. Like you can target someone else's name, unfortunately. Obviously, you know, this is why we tell people that when they're running their own ad campaigns, you want to also target your own name because it almost acts as an insurance policy against people like that. Google obviously sees the relevancy when you know you're targeting your own name that you are who you are, as opposed to some of these other people that are just you know trying to get the steam off of your own name. So it's kind of a shady tactic. It does work for people, unfortunately. But you know you're never going to be able to jump those sponsored links simply because that's just the way that the structure is. You know, the best thing you can do in that case, if you don't have the budget to advertise, is, you know, again, if you're a local business, try to, you know, be the #1 organic listing through, you know, getting those reviews, having the longevity and the authority, you know, within in that system. And same goes for outside of the maps, even just in organic search. Like, just make sure, again, you're studying who's there above you and try to, you know, enhance your content, try to make sure that your website is very functional, it loads fast, the technical side of things are cleaned up, just basically giving yourself any advantage. And I will say, you know, for the people that, you know, just started a website or their website is fairly new in the space within the last couple of years, it is more of an uphill battle competing against the guys who have been around for, you know, 10 plus years. That is unfortunately one of those factors, longevity, but it doesn't mean that it's absolutely impossible. It just makes it that much harder. So in that case, I would recommend probably, you know, seeing if you can set aside some budget for ads because that will always get you more towards the top of the page. And then, you know, try to outperform you know, your competitors in terms of how much content you're outputting. So if, you know, if they're not doing any blogging, great. You know, you should start. You know, start doing that 4 blogs a month minimum and seeing if you can do more. Then that just gives you more kind of windows in and opportunities. But I wouldn't scrutinize so much over one keyword. I would try to look at it from a collective perspective. How many keywords are we pushing towards that first page? Because that just creates more opportunity for people to find you. So long-winded answer, but hopefully that helps.
No, definitely great answer for sure. Well, that does take us to our time today. So I just wanted to thank Adam, Megan, and Claire for being such great panelists. I know that I learned a lot hearing from the 3 of you, so that was super helpful. And then to our audience, thank you for attending. I always get questions asked about recordings. Recording links will get sent out as soon as this is generated, usually by tomorrow or Friday. So you will receive the recording to this. And we're going to do a little bit of a recap on a blog of some of Adam's information he shared today. So definitely keep an eye out for that as well. And then I always put this in at the end of all of our webinars. If you would ever like to be a panelist, feel free to shoot me an email. We love getting to showcase some of our great clients, and we would love to have you guys speak on a webinar too. We kind of do a bunch of topics from digital marketing to websites to mobile apps to membership advertising. So we love to have a variety of faces to feature on our webinars. And then if you are looking for more information, definitely visit our website. We have a whole resource section. That's where we have recordings of all of these webinars live as well, spotlights on all of our awesome partners like Bryce and Discovery Park, and then some other tip sheets and tricks for you guys to learn from. So again, thank you so much for hopping on today, and we will see you guys next time for our next webinar in October. Bye, everybody. Thank you.